Hello guys, it's your boy 14 Fluffies here again. Today I'm going to be discussing two cards in a way that is somewhat of a compare and contrast. We're going to be doing a pros and cons as well. One card is Destiny Hero Doomlord, and the other is Neo-Spacian Grand Mole. As you've probably seen in my deck profiles, I absolutely love Grand Mole to death, and I think it's a really strong card against certain matchups. It has a very similar counterpart to it in the form of Destiny Hero Doomlord. Okay, the effects of Destiny Hero Doomlord are you can target one monster your opponent controls and banish it, and then 2 turns later during their standby phase, it is returned. Well, I'm pretty sure it's special summoned back to their side of the field or placed. I'm pretty sure that it's placed, not special summoned, because then you could just vanities and then they wouldn't get their monster back, and I don't know. I don't have the most current errata for this card anyway, so I had to look up the ruling online. And so yeah, let's get into the discussion. Pros and cons. Let's start with Neo-Spacian Grand Mole. The greatest pro for its effect is that it does not target, and that's a very, very powerful thing in this day and age, especially considering there are cards like Leo. Cosmo Forerunner is probably the most practical example for this situation, because it's a card that can't be targeted, and it's really a bitch to deal with, and Grand Mole's an easy way to get rid of it, I suppose. But then again, if your opponent's playing Cosmos, they're probably going to put the Forerunner back on the field during their next turn anyway. So Grand Mole, I don't really feel like is the best card for Cosmos. Other pros. This card is excellent for baiting out back row. If your opponent's playing Shaddolls and they see that you've played Grand Mole, chances are they're probably going to have to burn a Mind Crush, a Breakthrough Skill, Solemn Warning. They're going to have to burn back row to get rid of it. And realistically, if you're playing, in my case, if I'm playing heroes, there's going to be a lot of other stuff that'll probably be more bothersome than a Grand Mole, but the Grand Mole's just keeping them from playing because it's bouncing back all their fusions and bouncing all their sets. As well as also against clowns, like, it can bounce a Trick Clown back to their hand, and that could really screw them over sometimes, because that Trick Clown won't be doing anything in their hand, and even if they set it, you can just keep bouncing it back to their hand with Grand Mole. And that's why I like Grand Mole for the Shaddol matchup. The third pro to it is that it does not stay on the field itself. The thing about Grand Mole is that it has very poor stats, and it can't really protect itself outside of its own effect. So if it gets Breakthrough Skilled, you're going to be taking an assload of damage to the face if it gets Breakthrough Skilled or Fiendish Chain, or if its effect gets negated somehow. So yeah, but since it can bounce itself back to the hand when it attacks, it's not vulnerable on the field, which is the main issue with Doomlord. In fact, Doomlord even has lower stats than Grand Mole, so if you leave a Doomlord on the field, expect to take a lot of damage that turn. The thing is, next point, as compared to Doomlord, if you use Grand Mole's effect, you can still attack, and realistically, you're using Grand Mole's effect in the battle phase anyway, so it's irrelevant. Whereas Doomlord's effect, you can't really declare any attacks. You can still conduct your battle phase, you just can't declare attacks. And that may be a little bit nitpicky, but it makes a difference sometimes in certain situations. And, okay, the cons for Grand Mole is that it is not very easy to search out. Like, it's very obscure. You have to use very obscure cards to search it out, and a lot of the more practical cards that can search it are banned. So, first, I did some digging around on the wiki and things that could search it out, but the first 2 cards that came to my mind right off the bat were Witch of the Black Forest and Sangan, and obviously these 2 are banned. Realistically, in this day and age, they shouldn't be banned because they're way too slow, but it is what it is. And obviously you can get out Witch with Summoner Monk, and you can get out Sangan with Tour Guide, like how they did back in 2012. You know, Sangan and Tour Guide into Sangan is a great thing, and then you use Sangan to search another Tour Guide. But after snooping around in the wiki, there are 2 other cards that I found that can search, either get it from deck, either special summoning from deck or adding it to hand, and that is Giant Rat, obviously, and another really obscure as fuck card called Dogu. I don't know, it seems like it's good on paper, but nobody plays Dogu, probably because it's extremely conditional. During your end phase, if this card was destroyed, of this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there by an opponent's card effect this turn while in your possession. Yeah. You can add from your deck to your hand one monster with a different level from the monsters you control and the monster in your graveyard. You can only use this effect of Dogu once per turn. I don't know what the fuck is up with that wording, but, yeah. That's weird. I mean, I guess if this card gets destroyed, I guess it's this card that it's referring to for the card in the graveyard? I don't know. Basically, I guess it's just like you pick a monster you control and this card or monster in your graveyard, and you can search out a monster that's a different level, I suppose. I don't know, this card apparently has a very big search pool, but the way it's worded is just so meh. Yeah, it's just so poorly worded. I mean, it kind of... problem-solving text can't even do shit about this, I don't even know. And, let's see, another con about Grand Mole is the fact that it does bounce back to hand, so that it does make Mind Crush live. You don't want to get this Mind Crush and then have your opponent see your hand. I mean, it's never happened to me, but if your opponent was smart and had Mind Crush, they would probably do that. Other than that, I can't really see anything wrong with this card. I think this card's just a great card in general. And it bothers me that this card's at 1 still. I mean, because it's at 3 in the OCG and nobody even plays it. And even if it did come to 3 in the TCG overnight, I'd still only play 1 copy, just because I don't want to dilute my monster count with Grand Moles. So that's it for Neo-Spacian Grand Mole. Next up is Destiny Hero Doomlord. The main pro about it is the fact that it is readily searchable. Whether or not it's in Heroes or just in general, these 2 cards can easily search it out. Reinforcement of the Army and Shadow Mist. The biggest one, of course, is Reinforcement of the Army, because a lot of decks play it. So you could be playing like Clownblade, and you can tech in this for an extra Rota target. For all we know, you could be playing Tower Knights, tech that in. Hell, even Lightsworns if you actually play Rota and Lightsworns, which I don't think is a good idea. But even if you do, you can still search that, and then you'd have dark targets, which means you could play Chaos monsters, which is nice. You know, I don't know. Let's see, and even in Heroes, yeah, Heroes have a lot of access to this. I mean, this card synergizes so well in Heroes, which is kind of why I can see the point of running it in Heroes. I mean, I did test it out a while back when I first picked up Heroes, but I ultimately dropped it for Grand Mole because I obviously think Grand Mole's a superior card. But also because of the fact it is a hero, you could summon this, use its effect, banish a monster, and then you could mass change this into either Anki or, more importantly, Darklaw. You can mass change this guy into either of these 2, which is really nice. And also because you can recur him with cards like Mass Charge, which is also really nice. So he's a recyclable card that works really well in Heroes, but I feel like he's inferior to Grand Mole just because of the fact that his effect targets, and just because he leaves himself vulnerable on the field. You can't declare attacks, you know, stuff like that. Another thing about him that I consider a bit of a pro is that he's a dark, which means that if you play any kind of like Chaos deck, if you're playing any kind of deck that plays Chaos monsters, or if you like tech Dark Arm and stuff, my bad. If you play any kind of Chaos deck, he would just blend in perfectly. I mean, Chaos Heroes haven't been a thing in a while, I believe, and typically they would just play Diamond Dude as their darks. Diamond Dudes are Mallies, but this guy would work well as like a one-of in any kind of Chaos deck that plays Rota. I mean, if I were to build Clownblade, I would throw him in there because he's an extra Rota target. I mean, sure, he doesn't synergize well because he's level 3, but, you know, who the fuck cares? He has a great effect. Let's see. As to which one is actually better, thinking objectively, it's kind of hard to tell. I still think that Grand Mole is the superior card, even though it is not nearly as searchable or synergistic in most decks as compared to Doomlord. It's a great card, and it really... The Grand Mole can do stuff that Doomlord can't, and the one thing that Grand Mole can do that Doomlord can is break fields. Grand Mole can break... Grand Mole is like the death of Melodious Divas, the death of Hardened Armed Obelisk. Let's see, what else? What else relies on having one monster on board that can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects? Anything that plays Mound of the Mound Creator, like Mound Malefics or something like that, Anything that wants to keep their monsters on board that would establish a really strong field, just lose to Grand Mole. And really, come to think of it, the only other cards I can think of off the top of my head that would have effects similar to Grand Mole would be the obvious Trish, Vidolce Queen Tiramisu, Spellbook of Fate, and there was Satonite Trevair. And if you're talking about if you're saying that this is in the league of those cards that are really defining, obviously this card is very powerful. And it's at 1 apparently because it is that powerful, and that's why I think Grand Mole is a superior card. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.